Real Chat, episode 27, Jurassic World.
It's not about control. Stand down. It's a relationship. Based on respect. These animals are thinking, I gotta eat. I gotta hunt. You gotta be able to relate to at least one of those things.
Every time we've unveiled a new attraction, attendance has spiked.
That was awesome!
Corporate felt genetic modification would up the wow factor.
They're dinosaurs. Wow enough.
She was designed to be bigger than the T-Rex.
What happened to the sibling?
She ate it. We have an asset out of containment. What is that?
Her tracking implant. She clawed it out.
How would it know to do that?
She remembered where they put it in.
Oh, God.
She's killing for sport.
You got 20,000 people. You got no more boats. You don't have enough guns.
If we do this my way.
We got eyes on target.
Light it up!
Something's wrong. They're communicating.
We're talking about an animal here.
A highly intelligent animal.
The park is open. Everybody, welcome to episode 27 of Real Chat, a podcast that promises week in, week out, the real world as we know it. Now, today Real Chat is looking at our very first new release, 2015's Jurassic World, the hotly anticipated fourth installment of the unstoppable Jurassic Park franchise. No one's impressed by dinosaurs anymore, says Bryce Dallas Howard's tightly wound Claire Dearing early on in Jurassic World. It's a fair point. Some 22 years since Steven Spielberg brilliantly breathed life into these prehistoric creatures in Jurassic Park, seeing dinosaurs roam the earth, or rather on a private island near Costa Rica, is no longer quite the wonder that it once was. Even if the T-Rex and its pals have been largely absent from cinemas since 2001's Jurassic Park 3, their mythological counterparts have not. From Pacific Rim to Godzilla, modern audiences have been well served with CG-driven beasts causing wanton destruction on the big screen. So like the lady says, why on earth do we need another Jurassic Park? We're going to attempt to answer that very question here today on the show. My name's Adam Stolfo. I'm a very happy and rejuvenated Jurassic Park fan thanks to this film. And I'm joined here today by co-host Brose Avard. Brose, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. This is going to be a fun episode. There's going to be some interesting, I think there may be some fireworks that are unexpected over this film. But
you rejuvenated as well?
Well, I've never been a Jurassic Park fan. So I saw the first film in, what did we decide, 2010 or something, or 2013. And then I've since crammed in the second and third film, and I went and saw this at the cinema as well. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was good fun. It's got its problems, but not as many problems as 2 and 3, I would argue.
Definitely agree on that. And welcome back as well, Stuart Wilson.
Thank you very much.
We're going to refer to Stu during this episode as the dissenting voice. And welcome to Real Chat, the dissenting voice.
You can say that before every single time I speak.
Not a problem. The dissenting voice.
Yeah, I don't know what film you two guys saw, but we'll get on to that.
I want to know what your problems are with this. I know what my problems are, but what are your problems with this film?
They are legion.
Wow, they are legion. God, this guy is running into Troy.
And a very special welcome to our special guest today, my father, Otello Stolfo. Dad, how you doing?
getting very nervous at the moment.
That's
not
all right.
sure what's going to happen.
Adam
today.
said he'll be on his best behaviour, but be fucked if I'm on my best behaviour. Not my dad.
No, I don't think Dad's expecting that.
Oh, really?
But
he can get a little blue during the reviews.
I can get. That's right. Not today.
Not today.
Not today. But Brose, you've been very excited to have my old man on the show, haven't you?
Absolutely. We should do a little bit of background. Tel is a production designer in film and television. You've been working since, we won't go all the way back when, but for quite a long time in Australian films and television. And it'll be interesting to get a unique perspective from your professional kind of standpoint as well, which we're yet to have a film professional on the...
Not yet. He's the first.
He's the first. You're our first film TV professional.
That's even more trouble.
Is it? Are you more worried? That being said, we like to lower expectations around here, so if you only say 5 words, we're not going to hold it against you. That's
now, right. Otello, or Tell, as he is known widely amongst family, friends and colleagues, is a well-established and highly respected production designer in the Australian film and television industry. He has 25 IMDb credits as production designer or art director, which include, but is not limited to, of course, the miniseries All the Rivers Run, 1,000 Skies, My Brother Tom, Bootleg, and 4 episodes of Nightmares and Dreamscapes from the stories of Stephen King.
Wow, hang on, we need to stop there for a second. Do you know the Nightmares and Dreamscapes episode that was shot in Parkville? Do you know this episode? Did you work on that one?
No, that wasn't one of mine, but I do know it.
So this is an episode of Nightmares and Dreamscapes. I don't remember what it was because they're, whatever. And it's set in London, right? And the couple are having problems. So they go to a cafe to try and resolve their problems, right? And then if you look behind, they're in London. Have I established that?
Yeah.
They're 2 English actors in London. And a bloody tram goes past in the background. A tram, a bloody Melbourne tram, and then about 15 yellow cabs zip back and forth along Royal Parade in Melbourne, right? Zipping back and forth, trams ding-ding-dinging in London. And then, when one of them gets up to leave, a black cab from London pulls up and they get in the black cab and drive off. If you were involved with locations and production design on that episode, wouldn't you get a cafe that's not on a tram line? Wouldn't you?
I think you might be right.
I think I might be right.
That's why I didn't do that.
That's why you didn't do that one. You were like, there's no cap. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. Yeah.
That was an interesting one because
that
was one of the ones that was scripted for me to do initially.
And
then what happened, I think we were a month or so out from production, and they changed episodes on... We had 2 production designers.
Right. Yep.
8 to do 10-day shoots per hour. At that rate, it was impossible for one art department to do it.
Yeah.
So we ended up having 2 production designers with 2 independent art departments.
Wow.
We shared a couple of people.
Is that how they kept the costs down, just keeping the pace up?
Yeah, and also because they wanted to shoot them back to back. There was no stop. We finished shooting one on one day, they started the next.
So when they came to you and said, do you want to do this one or that one, you thought, well, if you're going to use a cafe that's right on a tram route, how about I
said, absolutely not for me. Give it to the other designer.
They did do a great job. They used the Parkville post office and turned that into the police station, and it looks spectacular. I mean, it's a gorgeous building anyway, but that was kind of a highlight to see that as well. But it's a weird episode.
Just to continue the career highlights, there's some TV movies in there: Nancy Wake, Bushfire Moon, Shadows of the Heart, Journey to the Centre of the Earth, and The History of the Handsome Cab. And just to cap it off, also well-known Aussie TV series, Brose, Snowy, Halifax FP, Last Man Standing, City Homicide, The Librarians, and most recently, Worst Year of My Life again.
Plenty of credits there.
Definitely. So, Dad, would you like to give the Real Chat audience a quick rundown of exactly what a production designer's role is in film and television and what drew you towards it all the way back in the 1980s?
Oh, good question.
It's
a big question. How did I get into TV, for starters? I came from architecture, and it was a recession in the 70s. Forced to have basically, sort of a bit of difficulty in work-wise. In architecture was really sort of falling. A couple of people that I'd done my course with were working at the ABC. They said, get in touch with our department. I went in, put my resume in, and fortunately enough, about 3 months later, I picked up work there. And
out at Elsternwick?
At Elsternwick, and did 5 years there. Was there from the black and white to colour change. Went through a good period with them, then was recruited by Crawford's.
Were you working at the ABC when they used to have real beer on set for the...
Yes, probably, and on Countdown as well.
They always used to do... whichever drama it was at the time, there was a pub location and they'd have real beer in the pub, and they'd always shoot those scenes in the afternoon, because once they started shooting those, they knew the actors weren't going to be available to shoot afterwards. And then all of a sudden the crew would put their hands up to be extras in the pub scenes.
Yes, there was a lot of that, and that also happened at Crawford's. I think that was when I went over to them, that they had a very similar policy with their long-term series. It was a lot sort of freer shooting, I think, in the afternoons.
Things got a bit loose in the afternoons, I believe, yeah.
So basically that's where my TV work started, and I sort of got into it, decided it was a lot more fun. Always kept my architectural work going, which I still do, in between my shows. And I think I was just very lucky to have been both at the ABC and at Crawford's at their peak periods for that 10-year period, which introduced me to film and TV. Work with a lot of good people that are around at the moment and have been sort of the strong point of the industry for many, many years.
There's also that period of Australian TV where we were doing a lot of mini-series, and there were a lot of high-budget period pieces, which we got back into in the early 2000s, I guess, with the more policed kind of, underbellies and so forth. But it was a real incredible time. Kennedy and Miller were doing stuff, and Simpson and Missouri were doing stuff. Crawford's were doing amazing work. Must have been an incredible time to be...
Well, it was, and I was lucky I was part of the Simpson-LeMage stable.
They were just over here near my house.
Yeah, exactly. They were just around the corner here. We've done a lot of filming around here, including Last Man Standing. I think was exclusively shot around West Melbourne, North Melbourne, mainly because I think it had been an underused location. And I really loved the fact that it was actually just above the city. So wherever you were in most of the main streets, you actually had the city in the background. So it put you just in that inner close.
Yeah, exactly. And once you get off, we've got a lot of really tight laneways and small streets and so forth in West Melbourne and North Melbourne. So, and once you get off the main streets into there, it's untouched, virtually untouched.
So, in terms of all of that, just to sort of shortcut it, I was just really lucky and enjoyed the work and was given the chance to sort of be involved in a lot of those breakthrough series.
Yeah. So for the people that don't actually know what a production designer's role is on a set, how would you sum it up?
The look of the show is my responsibility, more or less. Sort of I can control the colours, I can control the basic feel. We discuss how, we shoot it. I like to design the sets with the lighting in mind. Yep. So in actual fact, I tend to use a lot of real lighting in the set, and then sort of the DP then adds the atmosphere around it. I usually like them to walk into a set. I get everyone to usually turn all the lights on, get the atmosphere as close as possible to the real.
Do you work with the DOP or the lighting person or whatever as well, or you just do your job and then they come in and do theirs?
No. We tend to work with the DP very closely, because I think right from the start it's basically, there's the three main members. Yeah. Is the director, the production designer, and the DP basically decide on the look and sort of how the show is going to go and which direction it's going to go in. We have to get the okay, of course, from the producers and that, but, sometimes you can talk them into that.
It's interesting too, because I don't know if a lot of people think about the production designer when they're watching a film. I do, and there are specific films for me, the production design is one of the most, if not the most important. Like Ghostbusters is nothing without the production design on that film, for example. We talked about that in the Ghostbusters episode, and there are a lot of films where it comes down to that. Some films you choose a location and most of the work's done. Other films, it's the production designer that brings life into those locations and makes things, give them a real energy and a buzz or a sense of character.
Dad, do you find when you're watching movies, do you pick up on the production design on a first viewing, or is that something you do more on repeat viewings?
I tend to prefer to do that on repeat, mainly because I like to watch movies first up as a layperson. I've talked to a lot of colleagues, art department colleagues and others, that'll go and watch a film and all they talk about is, did you see this? Did you see that little bit there? And I say, did you see the film? Did you actually watch the film and what it's about? And so I've always consciously gone out and said, look, I want to see it as a layperson. If anything is outstanding or good or bad, I'll just notice it and I'll make a note of it. But, I don't try and concentrate on it and on that side of it.
We might even have a few of them in this film here, Jurassic World. We'll see what happens when we get
Jurassic World, they've built a whole theme park. So that's
exactly right.
That's all art production.
You mean they built that?
No, it was already there on the island.
I thought it might have been.
How old is your dad, Adam? I'm worried. Does he think dinosaurs still exist? I'm not sure.
I thought that was still a glass shot. Aren't glass shots being used anymore? Come on.
No, they're not on. Oh, so, are they? No, they're not at all.
No.
There's talk every now and then that someone's going to use a matte painting and it never happens.
Now, Universal Pictures intended to begin production on a fourth Jurassic Park film in 2004.
Wow.
For a summer 2005 release. But the film entered a decade of development hell, which I did a little bit of research on, but it's not worth mentioning here. It is hell. That's the best way to describe it. The script went through numerous revisions, and Steven Spielberg, director of the first two Jurassic Park films, acted as executive producer as he had for Jurassic Park 3 on this new one. So what are some of your initial thoughts on this one, guys? Having all seen it recently, being our first new release. So yeah, how would you sum up how you feel about the film?
For me, there are a few things that I wanted out of this film that I felt the second and third ones didn't
Chris Pratt.
quite nail. I love Chris Pratt, so I'm already on board.
Yeah.
In fact, I should have worn my Mouse Rat T-shirt from Parks and Rec, but I'm not wearing it. One of the things that I found with the second and third films is they just overloaded it with cast, and it just got a bit confusing and a bit messy. So I think this was a little bit simpler in terms of cast, and the story was a little bit more focused. There was still a little bit of unnecessary stuff going on the side, but it wasn't enough to distract me. It was more supporting than, you get that feeling in. Is it in 2 when they all hit the island with all their vehicles and they're tearing along and all the hunters are there?
There's
and
50 of them. Yeah.
There's 50 of them, and then we're going to have to cull these really quickly, and they do, and it just too messy, too much going on. Whereas this was nice and simple. Plus, I loved the idea of taking Jurassic Park, which was an educational kind of environment, and then in Jurassic World it becomes an exploitative kind of theme park. And I love theme parks as well, so just the idea of setting it in a theme park excited me. Although I must say that I'm not sure they use the theme park quite as effectively as they could have. Probably in terms of building tension and suspense and so forth. But it was a beautiful visual, and at least in the first act or two, it's just really well done.
Stu?
Yeah, well, the main 3 selling points I guess the film had. The first one is now it's a fully functioning park, which we haven't had before. And I don't think they did that very well. But we can talk about that more specifically later. Also, we've got a big mutant dinosaur, which I guess is a major selling point. And to top it all off, we've got the trained raptors, with the main 3 things that separated this from the other films. It failed in all 3 of those. But at least it was trying something different.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, I felt
the dissenting voice.
Yeah.
That's the first time we did it.
I think this is the real sequel to Jurassic Park. We're back to Isla Nublar, the island from the first film, and the previous
that
two... That
seems to be Adam's biggest thing.
You hate the second.
He just hates Side B.
I do, right? So already it's got me there, right? And Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 aren't even given a remote mention in this film. So this film had me at hello, essentially, right there. So remember when we did Lost World, Brose, you said that because of your disconnection from the Jurassic Park series, that film just, you didn't like it very much, but you said that it gave you enough, like as entertainment.
Yeah,
right?
It was entertaining enough.
This one gives me what I needed from a Jurassic Park sequel.
Yeah, but I've said this to you off air plenty of times, that for me, if Jurassic Park 2 and 3 were just called Attack of the Dinosaurs on the Island of Hell 1 and 2, they'd be perfectly fine films. They'd be 3.5 star films. But for me, the biggest problem is they try and tell us that they're Jurassic Park films, and I don't think they are Jurassic Park films. They're dinosaurs attacking people on an island films, and they're fine. That's basically a genre of its own, so go ahead and do it. It's a monster film. Whereas this one, like you're saying, feels like a sequel to Jurassic Park. It feels like it's in the same tone that Jurassic Park was in to a degree, whereas those second and third ones, I don't know, just call them crazy dinosaur islands.
And what did you think, Dad? What are some of your initial thoughts?
Having not seen 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Thank you. Had to think about that one there.
Is that because Adam wouldn't let you?
It could possibly be the reason. It could also be that I think after that, I enjoyed the first one. I remember enjoying the first one, but I don't know whether I was too busy or away doing work. I won the second and third. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, no, look, I like this one. I thought having missed it did sort of have a good follow-on for me from the first one, from what I remember at the end of the first one. And then the theme park I liked. Again, it was like, that's nice transition from what it was to making a commercial venture. And sort of then, yeah, look, there were parts about it I also thought were up and down, and but visually interesting. I did like the little helicopter.
Part 2.
It was funny. I said to Adam as we walked out, I said there was one shot when the helicopter's going down the valley shooting in. I thought to myself, we discussed it later. I said that helicopter just doesn't look real. But then again, we went to see Terminator the other day, and they had a helicopter flying through, and I said that helicopter doesn't look real, so it must be something with helicopters.
They're not using real helicopters. The CGI helicopters look rubbish, apparently.
Did you guys notice
I
that at all?
They're real.
Which
some of the chopper shots in Jurassic World,
I would imagine most of them were fake.
Yeah, but they look fake.
There was also there was a really awkward moment, I believe, when they hopped out of the chopper, and it was really clear that it was a real chopper, but the rotor blades were CGI because their hair wasn't flying around.
Oh, that was a good pickup.
There was a light breeze, so their hair's moving slightly, and that thing where everyone kind of ducks.
No one's doing the mash crawl.
That was a good point, because I did notice that I did pick that up, that they were racing, I think whether they were racing towards one of the helicopters or coming out, exactly the same reason. They kept their head up.
Yeah.
No one ducked.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
And even though you don't really need to duck, everyone does.
Everyone does. Because they're bloody rotor blades and they'll chop your head off.
But yeah,
is that a result of some accidents that have happened on set with helicopters?
Exactly.
The idea that this film takes the commercialization a step further of the park, the theme park idea. I thought the first film did that. They had speeches about, you've got Jurassic Park written on lunchboxes in the background. They kind of played with that in the first film. This was a bigger park, but I didn't see how it was any. The park itself wasn't particularly different from what Hammond was trying to do.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point.
Yeah,
definitely.
Fair point.
So Jurassic World is a Universal Pictures, Amblin Entertainment, Legendary Pictures, and China Film Group release.
Good lord.
And this is a sign that we're doing a new release here as well, Brose. It was released on the 10th, 11th, or 12th of June this year everywhere in the world. It was shot primarily in Hawaii, Louisiana, and California in the US, with a budget of an estimated $150 million, which is pretty standard for a big budget film in this day and age.
Not as big as I would have expected, though.
The budget?
Honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I saw Tomorrowland, and that was 180 or something.
That was 180.
Yeah.
But here we go. So it's gross to date $1,284,399,000 worldwide. It broke numerous records during its opening weekend, including the biggest opening weekend in North America and the highest grossing opening worldwide ever. It is the first film to gross $500 million worldwide in a single weekend, the fastest film to accrue $1 billion, and the third highest grossing film of 2015, and the seventh highest grossing film of all time. Also, the highest grossing film of this Jurassic Park series. So this is phenomenal, how this film has opened and how much money it's pulling in.
I guess this goes a long way to explain why reboots, remakes, extra sequels, so forth. I mean, they're money in the bank for the studios at this point. I mean, you can criticise studios for making yet another Transformers film or relaunching Jurassic Park.
And we will.
But at the same time, how can you argue with the numbers? You can't, can you? Like, Gen Xers and older Gen Ys will keep saying, it's just, you're ruining my childhood. But we still go and see it, don't we? Like, there's another Terminator film, and it's still going to make money. So we can't criticise too heavily. And if the danger is if we stop going to see these films, then the cinema could disappear altogether. So, well, within reason, a big chunk of it already has. So it's a catch-22.
Stu, are you surprised by how much money this film's made in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I didn't think it would make that much money. I knew it would do well, and a lot of that is opening weekend stuff, so it doesn't really have to do with how good or bad the film is.
It's the number of cinemas it gets into in its first weekend.
Yeah, and it's it's been, 13, 14 years since we've had a Jurassic Park film. Yeah, people are excited.
And there's also a lot of goodwill behind Chris Pratt. He's a lovable, kind of funny, kind of oafish guy. He's the sitcom star that became a leading man. So that all makes sense.
We'll get into him very shortly, Brose. But Dad, are you surprised by how much money this film has made in the way that the film and television industry is such a money-making juggernaut at the moment?
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't make any money at all. No. True. No, I'm really sort of not up to that, but these figures are pretty amazing.
They're staggering.
Maybe I'm just used to working on a much lower scale. Those figures are pretty staggering. But look, it's good insofar as I think it's getting bums on seats, I suppose, in that way, and it's pulling in the new audiences, obviously. And I think that's probably making a difference as to who's going to see these films, because I'm sure a lot of the people who are probably haven't seen some of the originals early on, and so it's pulling in the new audience, and I'm sure the studios and that would have done their research
absolutely
on all of this. So
the director of this film is Colin Trevorrow, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Colin
yes, he's an American film director and screenwriter, known as the director of the 2012 indie film Safety Not Guaranteed. Have you seen this, Stu?
I have. I really enjoyed that film. This is one of the reasons I was excited about this film.
Is it a surprising film for him to do after that?
No, not really. I mean, he was also attached to the Flight of the Navigator remake at one point.
He was.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I think he's walked away from that since. No, it kind of makes sense, and not surprising that Spielberg may have spotted him and seen him as a possible talent.
There were also false rumours that he was involved in, or he was up for directing Star Wars Episode 7. Did you hear about this at all?
I'm sure he was on someone's shortlist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also got a little voice cameo in this movie as Mr. DNA.
Mr. DNA, yeah. It was
which
nice
is a returning character from the first film.
Not just B.D. Wong, but Mr. DNA as well. Like, if it doesn't rain, it pours, doesn't it? It's insane.
I was disappointed. I was quite excited. I think I said on a previous episode it was a good idea to get an indie filmmaker because he would be able to focus on the character stuff. Because most of the action, I think, in films like this is pretty much designed from before the director even steps in. Everything's storyboarded, everyone's working on previs. So I think that's less important with a big budget film like that. But then I thought the characters were terrible in this. So,
Terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, all of them?
The characterization, the lack of character arcs, all the things that bothered me in Lost World were present and correct here.
Interesting.
For me, the issues with the characters were the so-called villains in this film. I don't know, they didn't present right for me. B.D. Wong kind of became a villain, and I don't quite understand why. It was kind of bizarre. And then Vincent D'Onofrio's character is supposed to be a bad guy. They're a bit noodling. Either make them full villain or make them good guys, and they kind of stuck them in the middle somewhere, I guess to try and make it seem like they're just normal people doing bad things, which is always a nice way to ground a villain. But there are just at times where B.D. Wong just should have been more of an asshole. Because he is an arsehole, so just be more... And same with Vincent D'Onofrio. If he's a big military-type guy, throw your weight around then. And he wasn't even that manipulative, and I had trouble with that.
So B.D. Wong, just for the people that aren't up to it, was the only character from Jurassic Park 1 that appeared in this film.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well, they actually used him as the sequel bait in this one as well. Yeah. He gets away in this film, doesn't he? He takes the embryos with him, completely setting up more movies, and they used him, of all people, to
B.D. Wong he'll be back. You won't wait long for more B.D. Wong. He'll be in Jurassic World 2. Jurassic Planet. When's that coming? Is that coming?
Jurassic Planet, that's the next one.
Yeah, they go to Mars and set up a colony of dinosaurs on Mars. Jurassic Planet.
Interesting visual
opportunities. Wouldn't it be spectacular?
Dad's got to get on that one. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's Fury Road.
Got a great place in South Australia. Just to the west of the Flinders Ranges.
Now, there are 4 people credited with writing this movie. Rick Jaffa wrote the screenplay and story. Amanda Silver, also screenplay and story. And Colin Trevorrow screenplay credit, and Derek Connolly screenplay credit as well, and of course Michael Crichton for the characters.
He's still taking a paycheck for nothing. That's good.
Yep, absolutely.
What characters of his are actually in this film? Just B.D. Wong, is
Dinosaurs.
that it? Just Henry Wu? And the T-Rex.
T-Rex.
The T-Rex and Henry Wu.
Now, Jaffa and Silver, here's some of their previous credits. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and The Relic. Have you seen any of these?
Relic? Oh my goodness. Good. I could see that there were lots of writers involved in this. I did read an interview with Colin Trevorrow where apparently Spielberg said, hey, in the early days, you want to work on this film? Look at the script we've been developing. Gives it to him. And he goes away and reads it, comes back, and Spielberg's like, so what'd you think? And Colin's like, I kind of didn't understand it. So he said, well, if you want to come up with some interesting ideas, you can, which is what he did. And I have no idea which version of the draft that was. I've read about some of the previous drafts online.
Do you like this script?
Did you like the plot?
Where they go with it?
Yeah, it's okay. But my main disappointment was the fact that it's a fully functioning park and we get one scene that actually is full-on dino chaos with the pterodactyls and hundreds of people.
We're going to get into that scene, by the way.
Just once. And the rest of it is like all the other Jurassic Park films. So it didn't even give us what it promised.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, it does. It seems like a lost opportunity, given that location and given the... And then they shoot all that stuff in daytime anyway. Like, nothing's interesting in the daytime.
I wouldn't necessarily...
There's not one scene set in the rain. Like, come on. Is this Jurassic Park?
Actually, you know what? They missed that opportunity.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I almost wondered if... Initially, I thought maybe it's going to be more like a disaster film. Not that I would have preferred that, but just because you've got so many people. And yet, they had the very small cast, the same number of cast members, and the fact that there were 20,000 people standing in a corner over here didn't actually have much to do with anything.
No, it really didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and by the time it would have been an issue for them, they were all taken off the island, weren't they? And they were
it was bizarre.
Yeah. Now, the cinematographer of this film is John Schwartzman. The most interesting thing in regards to Jurassic World is the fact that it was filmed using Panavision cameras shooting on a combination of Kodak 35mm and 65mm film. One of the 65mm cameras used on the production had been used in the past to shoot Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. The reason the filmmakers chose to shoot Jurassic World on film stock instead of on digital cameras, in addition to Steven Spielberg and John Schwartzman's own personal preference on the format, was in an effort to match the visual aesthetic of the previous 3 film-shot Jurassic Park pictures, as well as the fact that the film's exterior jungle scenes required a greater dynamic range of light than digital cameras could provide. The 65mm film was used for visual effects sequences as well as location shots where the filmmakers wanted extra visual impact. The film is being presented in a 2:0:0:1 aspect ratio, an intermediate ratio that falls between the 2 industry standard widescreen aspect ratios of 185:1 and 235:1. This was chosen because it allowed enough height for humans and dinosaurs to fit into the same frame without giving up a sense of scope, and closely matches the ratio of a digital IMAX screen. So it almost looks like this film was designed with IMAX in mind. Having seen it in IMAX with your dad, it looks sensational, this film. I thought it looked amazing.
Yeah, I didn't see it in IMAX because I won't mortgage my house to see a film. It's ridiculous. The price of films, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's just stupid. I looked at the IMAX prices. I'm not paying that much. Then I looked at the extreme screen prices. I'm not paying that much to see it. I'd rather watch it on my phone. I'm not spending that much money to see it. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it does look spectacular. It looks gorgeous. I didn't realise it was shot on film, and that's definitely helped.
We don't normally have a particular section of the show devoted to the production design, but for special reasons, we're going to do it today.
Oh.
Ed,
didn't you listen to your dad at the start of the podcast? The first time he sees a film, he doesn't pay attention to production design.
Right, yeah, exactly. Don't look at it. Yeah,
That's a quick segment. Thanks for coming in.
The production designer is Ed Vero.
Look, yeah, to me it looked pretty good. I mean, I always look at these sort of films and go, be nice to have that much
money,
with, and all of that. And then you start thinking, how would I have done it? Which is probably not a good way to look at it, because you probably wouldn't have done it like he did anyway, but it shouldn't be that way. But no, I was impressed with the whole lot. I certainly liked the look of it. I thought I was really happy with the look, the balance and everything else. I'd like to tie back to the original when they go back into where they find the old Jeep and
that's one of my
favourite
bits. I love the old Jeep.
I sort of like that part of the tie. Interesting look. The forest sequences I thought were good. I also agree with you. They could have probably made more use of mist and rain and night and things and all of that. And daytime is a lot harder to get that sort of
it's hard to build that suspense.
Deep look, I think.
It goes from daytime to nighttime, nighttime to daytime without any explanation, so they could have just done it anyway.
They could have, yeah. There's no reason. Yeah, I've cheated a lot more than that by just going around the corner in some places. But no, overall I thought it was very impressive.
Would you have used more of the visual style of the first film implied in the Jurassic World theme park, or you like the new direction they went in? Or
no, I probably like the new direction. I think it was a bit more modern, sort of, a bit more up to date. I think that's important. I think in that case, because they're pushing that they've gone to that stage. To keep it retro probably may not have worked as well. But yeah, look, it was hard. I mean, at first I looked at the park and I said, yes, this has to be a build because of the location that it was.
Yep.
But then I thought, could they have used parts of other parts and sort of integrated it with the whole lot to give them a bit more scope? But I think with that sort of film, they did what they did. They basically built the thing and shot it in there, and I think that's the way. And a lot of CG extension, mind you, as well.
There was a
lot of CG extension.
Yeah. And a bit of product placement along the way too. Was it a Hilton? Was it a Hilton or a...
there was a lot of product placement. They were kind of making a joke about it. It wasn't quite Josie and the Pussycats level, but yeah, it was definitely there.
Brose, let's get into the iconic cast from Jurassic World, starting with Chris.
They're iconic already, are they?
Not iconic.
I would say laconic, not iconic.
Let's get into the cast from Jurassic World.
I wouldn't call them a cast.
Turn it up.
You mean actors assembled for the purpose of a film?
Chris Pratt plays Owen Grady, right? Yeah. And my God, how good is this man? Part David Attenborough, part Steve McQueen. He's soothing velociraptors 1 minute, racing with them on motorbikes the next. He's the ultimate badass and image of testosterone. Maybe even Earth's greatest human specimen. Not only...
Adam's got a little crush.
Is it getting warm in here?
Wow. Are your pants feeling tight?
Not only is Owen a buff ex-Navy SEAL badass who lives a solitary life of tuning up his motorcycle outside his kick-ass trailer out in the park's wilderness and a studly nature survivalist expert, he's also... yes, really, a soulful animal lover who's managed to tame a bunch of raptors and scold the Jurassic World bosses for not being respectful enough for his dinosaur pals. What a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. There is no flaws to speak of
if you're going to reference Salt and Pepper, let's talk about sex, baby. I think you and Chris Pratt is going to happen.
Yeah. There's no flaws to speak of here whatsoever. The closest I could come to is a little too forward in his 007 style wooing of Claire, and in one scene he apparently could do with a shower. That's the best that I could possibly come up with.
Yes, he's charismatic. His character was rubbish.
Wow.
There's nothing for him to work with in this film.
I know that.
I thought he was very good.
No,
But
he just had no script to work with. That's what I don't understand.
No, Stu, not the character, Stu. I'm saying about A Perfect Man, as in like he was just like, flawless in this film.
I like Chris Pratt. I love him. I think he's fantastic. I mean, not as much as Adam does. Sorry, don't get jealous. And one of the things I like about his performance in this film is that, and he said this in interviews, that he ditched his goofball kind of comedy persona, which he's been doing for the last 15 years in film and TV, and he dropped the gags and he went a little bit straight. It would have been nice if he had a little bit more of the humour that he's known for, but not going that goofball route. But he was still quite good in this. Yeah, okay, his character doesn't go anywhere.
He doesn't change.
It finishes
in the film.
Yeah, but I haven't changed in the last 10 years either, and I'm not a bad guy.
Stu, there is no character growth in this film from anybody. I'm completely in agreement with you there.
And I think we just need to sweep that aside. I know that's a big issue for you. Sweep it aside and have fun.
Character. You make it sound like I'm this sad sack. It's like I want a tiny bit.
Why hasn't he grown? There's no emotional depth.
What did you think of Chris Pratt in this role, Dad?
Look, I must admit I liked him too. Yeah. I mean, I didn't take him too seriously.
Like father, like son.
I thought, yeah. I don't like him that much. Look, I took it for what it was, I think. I like the way he just drifted through and did his slightly corny bits occasionally in that, but I didn't dislike him, and there was no depth, no everything else, but I thought that was part of the way it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard plays Claire Deering, the park's uptight operations manager. And
look, it's worth mentioning just quickly for Bryce Dallas Howard. Thank God she got out of M. Night's films and has moved on. I think that's good for everybody.
Yes, I would agree with that too. Yeah. She plays the aunt of the kids, Zach and Gray, in this film. Did you notice as well, guys, that she's dressed all in white, which seemed to really be a little bit of a homage to Richard Attenborough in the original film?
I did wonder. It was really distracting because she stayed clean the entire time too.
That's what I'm saying. That was so unrealistic.
Who wears head to toe white? You never see that, but not in Melbourne anyway.
No, definitely not in Melbourne.
And also, I've never seen Richard wearing high heel shoes. So
Well, he's English.
Yes.
Rest in peace, Richard.
What do you think?
Poor Bryce Dallas Howard in The Village, which was kind of her big, huge debut.
It was.
I thought she was actually fantastic in that.
I'm
Regardless
sure she
of what
was.
you think about the film, it's quite a silly film, but she was fantastic.
If I actually acknowledged any films by M. Night after
Signs,
then I guess I'd think she was great in it too.
And the thing is, since then, she's been in so many rubbish blockbusters. She got to be in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, she's
Terminator Salvation. She was Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, okay. And she's in Salvation, yeah.
Yeah,
and horrible in just
what an awful character.
Awful.
And she's meant to be the same character as Claire Danes from the third one as well. Did you know that?
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. But yeah, it's awful.
With horrible character, and this took the cake. I mean, it's that thing where. Joss Whedon wasn't that far off in his tweet from months ago when the trailer came out, and he suggested this was kind of a weird throwback, sexist, retrograde idea that, she just needs to loosen up, and relax. She's too uptight. And they introduce her, and every single person she meets tells her off. Everyone is critical of her, and I couldn't understand why. First of all, you're like, she's a woman who has a career. Oh, that's terrible. She doesn't even know if she wants kids. Oh, my goodness. Spawn of Satan. And
I actually quite liked her, and now I'm thinking she's an evil bitch.
It was laid on so thick, and it didn't feel justified. And the weird thing is, even when she starts to kick ass, which she does in the end, no one seems to notice. She has the cool moment where she saves Chris Pratt from the pterodactyl. And I actually quite liked it because Chris Pratt then went to kiss her, because secretly all we want is a woman that will beat up a pterodactyl for us.
I've been looking for a woman like that for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been looking for a pterodactyl too. They're harder to come by.
But I like the idea. It was like, oh my God, that's so hot. You just saved me from a pterodactyl. And then 2 minutes later, the kids make that joke that they want to hang out with Chris Pratt's character because they'll be safer with him than her. And I'm like, what?
Well,
what are you talking about?
she also saved them in the truck and is driving away from.
I know.
Them.
She just saved Chris Pratt's life, and the kids go, we want to hang out with him. And I'm like,
yeah, but maybe the kids were just big Parks and Rec fans. Like, I get it. Let's pull out the guitar. Let's go.
And she saves she saves everyone in the end. Basically, no one seems to notice. Right. And what I'm saying is, was everyone wrong about her? All the people that were critical all the way through the film, at no point did anyone say, gee, we were wrong about you. Or did she somehow change as a person? And if she did, there was no catalyst for change. There was no suggestion. What was changing her into action lady? Nothing.
No, that's true. So were your issues with this mainly ingrained in the writing more so than her performance?
Oh, no, I have no problem with it. That's what I'm saying. She keeps getting saddled with crappy roles.
Okay.
I think she can be an excellent actress.
Yeah, I think she's great. Servicing what she's got. I think she does a good job with it.
It's not much.
There's not much there to work with.
I did also read that it was her decision. Apparently,
she looks good in white.
It was apparently her decision to keep the heels on. I read online.
Yeah, right.
Her decision.
Apparently, yeah. The director was like, do we want to have a bit? For instance, when they found the room from the original Jurassic Park, where there's some combat boots in there, maybe they could have had a moment where she changed her shoes,
put boots on.
But the problem is, it just takes you out of the film because that big slow mo running scene, and I don't know how many of you have worn high heels, but.
I've not worn high heels, but I have worn platform shoes with a heel on it of about 6 inches.
That makes two of us.
It was quite a broad heel.
It was a broad heel, but
it wasn't a stiletto.
It wasn't a stiletto, but it was a platform heeled boot, and I was some way off the ground, that's enough effort.
I'm just saying, having a fun park where we've brought dinosaurs back to life is fine, but having the woman running away from the dinosaurs in high heels is a step too far.
But even the part where she has the singlet, she ties her thing. It's like, oh, now you're ready for action. You've got your.
It was kind of a joke, but then she was action lady, so it doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense.
Yeah, that does take you out of the picture a lot. Those parts of it, and the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. But I think she's very charismatic, and I think she.
Here's the other thing: everyone's giving her crap, and for some reason, Chris Pratt gives her crap because she doesn't know the age of her nephews, and like. It's entirely. I've got aunts and uncles that wouldn't know how old I am. That doesn't make you a bad person.
That doesn't make you bad.
My niece and nephew are 11 and 13.
Oh my god, you're a terrible person.
11, 12, 13. I just went to his 13 and 15.
That was just strange.
I don't know.
Why does everyone hate this woman?
They don't know how old I am either. So what does it matter?
Why is she wearing all white and heels when she often has to go, for instance, visit Chris Pratt's character in a 4-wheel drive? Like, why do you dress that way? None of this makes sense.
I'd be more forgiving of the Richard Attenborough throwback if there was a scene where she was sitting at a giant table eating ice cream.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Then I'd be forgiving the high heels and everything. Just get stuck into the ice cream.
Irfan Khan plays Simon Masrani, the CEO of the Masrani Corporation and the owner of Jurassic World. He essentially plays Hammond's substitute teacher in this film, and they kill him horribly as well.
They do, and that was one of the 2 scenes that they took from an earlier draft. Because you remember the ending to The Lost World was going to have the pterodactyls attacking the helicopter?
Yeah.
And if you've seen the storyboards on the DVD, they actually have a moment where the beak comes through and stabs the pilot, which is what happens in that. So that was one of the 2 things.
It's almost like they took it from there and put it into this one.
Yeah, it was a case of he realised the error of his ways by that point.
He's great in this. He's charismatic and he's believable and he does a good job. He brings a sense of humour to that character. And he's not necessarily just a bad guy. It's kind of nice. They don't end him the way they do the lawyer in the first one, which would have been a nicer... more fitting tribute.
No, they give that to Vincent D'Onofrio, and we're about to get to him now. Actually, plays Vic Hoskins. Boy, is he the biggest fat evil pig and scheming corporate villain you've ever seen. Who's apparently the head of security operations. You know what he is?
Oh, is that what his role is officially? Because I was confused on how he had.
You know what he is, Brose? He's the Burke from Aliens to the I-Rex's alien queen. You know?
Maybe.
And
he wasn't slimy enough.
But he wants to use the Raptors. He wants to use the Raptors as weapons, like Burke did with the aliens in Aliens as well. So
I was a bit disappointed just because Vincent D'Onofrio is generally so awesome, and he didn't.
I love him. Yeah, he's one of my favourite actors of all time.
He's amazing, and he's so versatile.
He couldn't be eaten fast enough in this film, by the way. I was just, they pushed it till later, but I couldn't wait till he got his.
I don't know. For me, I just found it a bit transparent that he was obviously going to get his end at some point. And I think if he was a bit slimier, like Newman in the first one, or if he's Newman, whatever.
Nedry.
Oh, Nedry, Newman, it's all the same. But I don't care. I love watching him on screen, so I don't care what he's doing. He eats up the scenery. I think he's fantastic. And I think he's great in this, even though he hasn't got a lot to do. But a lesser actor, this role just would have been useless.
What about Ty Simpkins, who plays Gray Mitchell? I guess he's like the Tim of this film when you say Stu.
The less said about the kids, the better. I think.
I thought they were quite underwhelming.
Yeah.
What about the scene where, like, the little kid is, like, really worried about his parents divorcing and he gets really upset and his idiot older brother just sort of, treats him like, you get over it, you little shit. I was just hating this kid by the moment. I was when he went off in the hamster ball and decided to go off-road, I was really hoping that, the I-Rex was going to, get into this. But
one thing I did like is that I liked at the end he said, we'll always be brothers. And I liked that they didn't suggest that the parents were miraculously somehow going to get back together. So I didn't mind that at least.
What did you think of the kids, Dad?
Yeah, look, I felt much the same way. They didn't really do much for me, I think, in this one. They didn't sort of really grab
Mind you,
me.
you're Adam's dad. You've been underwhelmed by kids for a long time, haven't
you? No comment on that.
That's funny. Yeah.
No, look, they didn't grab me, and I thought, they weren't a strong point of the film for me as well. Look, I liked that last little bit, I think, when they sort of came together in the turnarounds, but there was a lot in between that just didn't do anything for me at all.
Could this film have existed without the kids? Like, were they shoehorned in there a bit?
A little bit.
Oh, well, you have to have kids in a Jurassic Park film, I guess. So it wouldn't have been hard to come up with something, though, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, maybe in this instance, given they're at a theme park with thousands of people, then maybe we didn't need developed characters that, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard go and rescue. Maybe it's more about those characters trying to keep the park from falling apart more than anything else. Maybe there was enough going on if they'd used the park properly not to have to shoehorn those kids in. I don't know. And then her PA may have survived.
In regards to supporting cast, I'm just going to make a quick mention of Judy Greer-Stu, who of Arrested Development fame, of course, who plays Karen. And has this interesting factoid here as well. Bryce Dallas Howard and Judy Greer are sisters in the film. What was the other film that they were sisters in, Stu?
Would that be The Village?
So that's just interesting that they put them together after all this time as well. I mean, it's been over 10 years since The Village as well. So, and there was a cameo by Jimmy Fallon as well, wasn't there, bro?
Yes.
Yeah, in the hamster wheel, as we're going, or hamster balls, we're calling it. Yeah, that was kind of a nice little moment.
He sort of discusses safety instructions, because he actually did one for Universal Studios, so apparently he's taking that off. He did a real one at Universal
the other thing too is that Jimmy Fallon's on NBC. NBC is owned by Comcast. Universal is owned by Comcast.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting there wondering, why Jimmy Fallon of all people? But they're all the same family, so
they get him cheaply.
Yeah, they can get him cheap, exactly. A couple of people I wanted to mention, I'm not sure how far along we're going with the cast, but Lauren Lapkus and Jake Johnson, who are in the control room at Jurassic World. Really, really well cast and really...
Jake Johnson from Safety Not Guaranteed.
And and he's also from The New Girl, and then Lauren Lapkus is from Orange is the New Black. And really nice pairing, really funny moments. I've heard interviews with Lauren Lapkus where she was saying that they were allowed to improvise a lot of their dialogue in those scenes and injected a nice energy there. She was saying that originally Owen and Claire weren't going to kiss at the end of the film, and it was actually their characters, so it's Lowry and Vivian, they were going to kiss, and that was going to be the kiss moment at the end of the film. And then when Owen and Claire, it was decided they would kiss, because it's a Hollywood film, why wouldn't they? They changed that ending, and it's one of the funniest moments in the whole film for me, where they're saying goodbye and he's staying behind to save everyone at the park, and then she's going to leave and be rescued, and then he goes in for the kiss, and she turns around and says, "Oh, no, I've got a boyfriend." And he goes, "But you never mention him." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm at work." And it's just the perfect flip of the standard Hollywood
It was. We were satisfied with that.
And it was,
was good.
All improvised on set as well. So it was really nice that Trevorrow let those two guys... I mean, they're very funny actors and they've got a comedy background. So it was nice to use those elements. And both those characters, I think, were brilliant all the way through it. Plus, all us Gen Xers all of a sudden wanted to jump on eBay and buy an original Jurassic Park white T-shirt like he wears earlier in the film. And really funny moment when he's told not to wear that T-shirt ever again.
Yeah, the merchandise tie-ins were a nice touch.
Yeah, it was really that was good.
Director Colin Trevorrow has stated that the Indominus Rex, the synthetic hybrid dinosaur at the center of the film story, is symbolic of consumer and corporate excess. Trevorrow stated that the dinosaur was meant to embody humanity's worst tendencies. We're surrounded by wonder, and yet we want more, and we want it bigger, faster, louder, better. And in the world of the movie, the animal is designed based on a series of corporate focus groups. He also stated that there's something in the film about our greed and our desire for profit. The Indominus Rex to me is very much that desire, that need to be satisfied. Film journalists have also noted the parallels between the workings of the park in Jurassic World and the film and entertainment industry. Actor James Damont states that the person and the environment are one. And another theme is that those who do not stop evil are supporting and encouraging it.
I will say with the Indominus Rex, I was quite disappointed because it just didn't look very interesting. I can't even picture it in my head right now.
It's white.
It's white.
It's white.
It's sometimes white.
It looks kind of white, and then it can camouflage.
It's camouflage, which is the other thing they stole from the Lost World book. They had the camouflage dinos, and it could have been more distinct looking, couldn't it?
Yeah. So you're just talking about from a visual perspective.
Right? And
from a character perspective, though, there's a massive difference with this one compared to the other ones, right? This I-Rex is evil. It shouldn't have been created, but it was created with magic science, right? So the dinos...
I love magic science.
It's my favourite science.
Magic science is used to make to say the
dinosaurs in the previous Jurassic Park films, right, were clearly animals. They were just doing what they do, right? This super dinosaur bred in captivity, kept in seclusion from all other dinos.
Oh, what a mistake!
In fact, Owen even mentions that it's crazy and not socially adjusted. It doesn't know what to do, so it just goes off and kills for sport, right?
That's the line said by the guy that lives on his own in a caravan in the part of the park that no one
knows
else
everything.
He's
perfect, right? Right.
That wasn't my point.
It kills this dinosaur kills everything it sees, right? It never had like a mummy. It can't love. If it did have a mummy, it probably would have eaten it. That's how evil this dinosaur is.
Well, it ate its twin.
Yeah. Like, that's the difference with this dinosaur compared to the other ones, for sure. Absolutely. It's like this evil dinosaur.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make that much difference. Like, it didn't really make that much of a change. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to how much the T-Rex ate in the first film. And, like, shouldn't it be full right now? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the fact that this one started killing for sport, that really opened things up.
But if they hadn't said that, it wouldn't have made any difference.
Maybe.
A couple of people mentioned it.
Stu, this is the worst scene in the film, okay? Pratt and Dead...
Stuart, you'll like this.
Yeah, it's a bad thing. Yeah. It's now Adam speaking to the dissenting voice.
Pratt and Dead Meat, I'm going to call them Dead Meat 1, Dead Meat 2, right? Those two start running when they realise that the I-Rex is standing right behind. This is when they're inside with it in its enclosure, right?
Yes.
One of them says, I ain't running, I'll open these enormous doors. A plan with no drawbacks, apparently. Why do you think opening enormous doors because you can't be bothered to run might be a bad idea, Brose?
Because the enormous dinosaurs fit very easily.
Well,
enormous doors, is that
obviously, right? Everything in the movie goes wrong because of this guy.
Yeah, right.
Because he opens these doors.
Maybe the fact that it's so easy to open the doors too.
Yeah,
there's only one set of doors.
Well, that's the other thing too.
Even the butterfly enclosure at the zoo
has
two sets of doors.
Sets of doors.
And the butterflies aren't going to kill anyone if they escape.
Even public toilets have two sets of doors.
And you might die in one of those.
You might. But it is weird, isn't it?
They didn't think about the security of this.
They didn't at all. There should be one of those weird little trays on the ground that you put your feet into to clean dirt off, and then you go through the next set of doors.
We have to talk about this sequence, which you just touched upon before as well, Stu. So the helicopter crashes and the flying dinos get out. What are the flying ones called again?
Pterodactyls.
The pterodactyls, right? And these are really the only dinos that go absolutely ballistic in Jurassic World, right? Because they fly into Disney World at high noon and essentially fuck everybody up, right? They are the most aggressive, evil animals in all of history. They are like flying rabid werewolves in this scene. It's chaos. It's really nasty chaos. They're pecking at old man's heads. But I'll tell you what, the one who gets it the worst, Stu? Zara, right?
Yeah, poor old Zara.
Or as I like to refer to her, Dead Meat as well.
Dead Meat.
Another one, right? Here's the thing with her. She's not obnoxious enough for you to want her to be dead meat, but she's kind of tuned out. So you're like, if you don't pay attention here, Zara, you're going to get eaten by a dinosaur. She's not even a good PA. Apparently she's a PA, right? I'm sure there would be a lot of people who would like to be a PA of the person who runs the world's only dinosaur park. They wouldn't spend the entire time checking their iPhones like she seems to be doing as well.
But isn't that a reflection of the fact she's given a task that's beneath her? She's supposed to be the PA, but she's babysitting her boss's kids that her boss can't even be bothered spending time with. Isn't that the comment they're making there?
Yeah.
I know you're on a rant here. You're on a roll.
Yeah.
But
This her death though. This is
it's vicious. She
this is the worst death in the history of Jurassic Park.
It's so prolonged. It's so violent. Yeah. It's so horrible. And her character. Not that anyone deserves, I guess, death, but her character does not deserve this at this point.
This is worse than Nedry in the first film.
It is, but Nedry kind of gets his just deserved. So
yeah. That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
She's not even enough of a character for you to even remember her, besides her very brief intro on her smartphone, right? She's the babysitter, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what she is.
Vincent D'Onofrio should get this death.
Yeah.
This is basically, this is one step up. This is even worse than The Lost World. The guy from
the West Wing.
The West Wing.
Toby Ziegler.
That was undeserved, and this is even worse.
That came out of nowhere, and it was like, we need a death now, so he's going to cop it.
So Zara gets snatched up by the... I think it's a pteranodon.
Yeah, I think it's a pteranodon.
Right?
Sorry.
And it's biting her and she's screaming and you're going, shit, this is going on for quite a while. And it flies her over the water pen, the lagoon thing, and you're going, I can see where this is going to go. Yeah. And then it drops her in the water and she screams all the way down. And then she's underwater screaming before surfacing and snatched from the surface by another...
Call them pterodactyls, it doesn't matter.
I can't say this damn thing.
Pteranodon is what I was saying.
Pteranodon. It pecks at her some more, drawing blood at this point. She's fucking drowning here, and it drops her back in the water before tormenting her some more. So she's drowning and being pecked and freaking out, and then the Mosasaurus rises up beneath her, swallowing her, and the and the bird at the same time, and then chomp, she's dead, like deader than dead. I cheered because of the absurdity, creativity, and
you
torment.
cheered out loud. You cheered.
I think so.
And then hated yourself after.
I kind of squirmed in my seat.
It wasn't
like,
what happened to the character. It was at the filmmaking. It was at the decision about, like, you know, why do this to this character for such a disposable, like, character, a forgettable character, not a genuine cheer like if it had been Zach, the older brother, you know. But the question is, what is the deal with the creative and shock-inducing deaths in film and TV of late? I mean,
oh wow, you're going on a whole different.
In the first film,
now.
they killed Nedry, who you
don't
hate.
Get in the way of this one. He's not stopping for anybody.
Gennaro dies because he left the kids in the first one, right? And Muldoon dies because he's a little overconfident. There's never a clear point in Jurassic World in which Zara says, "Fuck you, kids, I'm getting the hell away from here." If she did, you'd say, well, that's what you get for neglecting your babysitting duties.
Yeah.
Well, the kids why did they do this from a creative standpoint?
It was pure horror movie. I read an interview with Colin Trevorrow where he said that her death scene, he was trying to subvert expectations because he knew the moment she fell in the water, everyone goes, I know what's going to happen. So there's that moment when she gets lifted out of the water, not to a better place. No. So I kind of drew it out. It was kind of like watching Final Destination or something. It was
horrendous.
It was really bizarre.
The other thing too is that considering the part the Mosasaurus plays in the finale, I guess it was a point to remind the audience.
I didn't need a reminder.
I'm not saying we needed.
Coming.
I know we don't need a
waiting
reminder.
The whole film for that to come.
I know that we don't.
They were going to herd the dinosaur to the pool.
The Mosasaurus.
But they didn't. It just happened to be next door.
But yeah, no. I'm just saying. I'm not saying we needed the reminder, but it also pays as a reminder,
yeah.
or plays as a reminder that character or that monster still exists.
Dad, were you as baffled by this scene as I was?
Absolutely, totally shocked. I thought, why have they done this to this poor girl? I said, why? What did she do to deserve this? But yeah, no, it came as a total shock, and yeah, I'm not quite sure.
It's that kind of distasteful horror movie thing where they don't even bother with you being concerned that people may die. It's like when you get to Jason X. I'm not sure how many people stuck with Friday the 13th this far. And the DVD has a jump to a kill option.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's like highlights.
It's like we're supposed to be cheering because we're supposed to be rooting for death and destruction.
And now it's time for Sports Tonight's Kill of the Day.
It's just gross. I don't like it. And especially Jurassic World being a family film, it's just weird.
Yeah, it didn't really need it, to be honest, I think, for me anyway.
It was gratuitous, there's no question.
Do you think the movie made it clear that the IRAX was not actually an attraction? Do you think that came through pretty well in the storyline?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, or at least it wasn't yet. Yeah.
The whole thing about using it as a weapon instead, I think that was sort of the subplot there.
Oh, really? They were going to use the IRAX?
No, I thought it was going to be
it was made out to be an attraction, whereas InGen was using Jurassic World to make it a weapon, and that's why it has all these special abilities.
Right, okay.
But they want it smaller. It's too big. And having said that, I think the film is missing an exposition scene in which they sort of explain this a bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's definitely...
that makes sense, because D'Onofrio's hanging around like a bad smell. Yeah,
now, there's just one sequence that I have to make mention here, and please just bear with me and let me go through this, because this is just fucking awesome, okay? Which is the Smackdown conclusion, Brose, in this film.
All 48 seconds of it.
Yeah. This is amazing, this sequence to me. I think that I got my whole satisfaction out of this film because of this sequence at the end, all right?
Well, you couldn't get it anywhere else.
So... All right, so the Raptors have surrounded everyone like at the end of the first film, right? Owen appeals to the Raptors, please don't kill us, and they look like, we may not.
Depending on what the script tells us to do.
Yep. And then the IREX shows up and the Raptors have to choose their allegiance. And the IREX is like, kill them, my pretties. And Owen's like, no, kill him, he sucks. So the Raptors turn on the IREX, and this is the great moment where you're like, perfect man Owen did it to be sort of kind to them, right? So two of them get out way too easily. One into a hot dog stand that explodes, and one that gets its head pulled off. And Grace says in a really weird way, we need more teeth.
Yep.
And Claire then runs off in her high heels to paddock 12. The doors dramatically and slowly open into darkness as Claire lights a flare Jurassic Park 1 style, and then two yellow eyes very high off the ground appear in the darkness, and then the T-Rex emerges. Which is fantastic. Now, had the T-Rex just turned up and roared, that would have been enough. Had it just turned up and not even roared, that would have been enough. But this T-Rex enters the scene, comes into full view of the frame by battering down the skeleton of the Spinosaurus. F.U. Jurassic Park 3 moment right there. This orgasmic, amazing moment in slow motion, you get the fanboy battle, T-Rex versus I-Rex. So they're absolutely screwing each other up. They're slamming into each other and everything. And
that's really nice to watch, though. The big fight.
Oh, yeah. And the T-Rex isn't as powerful as you were hoping, and it's getting battered down. I thought you sort of saying to yourself, I thought you were the king. Pull yourself together, and you find yourself saying, it's giving as good as it gets, but it gets injured. And then there's that moment where the T-Rex is down, and it's going to get bitten like the Spinosaurus did to it in Jurassic Park 3. And you're going, it's going down. It's all over. And then you hear that familiar Raptor screech, and then suddenly Owen's boy Blue the Raptor bursts onto the scene. And all you WWE fans out there start to get excited. I mean, that's jumping out
and
at me.
And it's good because it answered the question, how strong is an Indominus Rex? It is T-Rex plus Raptor. That's how strong.
Yeah.
That's the effect of the genetic engineering.
So, Brose, wrestling style, you've got the Raptor and the T-Rex tag team Smackdown against the I-Rex at this stage. I couldn't believe I was seeing this at this point. I was like so excited.
It's like Big Show and Spike Dudley versus The Rock.
So it barrels on top of the I-Rex, it bashes the I-Rex on the head with a steel chair, jumps from the I-Rex onto the back of the T-Rex, which is awesome. And then the I-Rex goes, I'm going to take you all on, you pretenders, and it backs slightly too close to the lagoon. And then, of course, the Mosasaurus pops out, grabs the I-Rex by the head, drags it under the water, and then the T-Rex and the Raptor sort of have a sup sort of moment.
Sup at you, boy.
We'll just never speak of this again. They bro nod, and then sort of have their high five moment and go their separate ways.
And then an underdog story there with the T-Rex. It was just missing the part at the end where the T-Rex is like, Adrian, I love you, Adrian.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to top that four-way Dinosaur Smackdown. Like that I loved that scene. I thought that was awesome at this stage.
I mean, I've since spoken to people who've told me the Mosasaurus coming up was predictable and whatever, and I didn't care. I thought I jumped out of my seat a little bit. I got excited. I was like, yeah, you bastard, take that, yeah.
I think they were really wise as well to keep the uncertainty about the allegiance of the Raptors under wraps as well. I thought that was a good decision.
That was fine. It just didn't make sense as
why
to
they changed their tune.
Changing their mind.
Did you like this battle, Dad?
Yeah, look, it was good.
It visually looked amazing.
Yeah, it did. And for a minute at the end, I was actually confused which of the two big boys actually got eaten.
Which one's in the water? I don't know which one that is.
Was it T or was it I?
And I can't hear because Adam's cheering so fast.
Go.
I just loved it, Stu. I couldn't help it.
Did. For a minute, I actually thought, which one was it? But then I realised pretty quickly enough.
The right one.
But it was a good fight. It was a good fight.
Yeah, it was the only time in the film I was excited. The only time. And it was just all over too quickly for me. So if we had
so you're saying you wish they both ended up in San Diego, the I-Rex and the T-Rex, and then torn through it, eating the dog.
We don't talk about San Diego.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Bringing it up
because I like how you squirm when it gets mentioned.
It gets too hard for Godzilla. Then I think
it gets very dangerous. Yeah, it's a great finale. Yeah.
And it was good because I hadn't even thought about, hey, is there going to be a T-Rex? It hadn't even occurred to me, so that was pretty cool.
A couple of little bits of trivia from Jurassic World. Jeff Goldblum's character, Dr. Ian Malcolm, can be spotted on the cover of a book that is read by Zara on the monorail ride into the park. Did you notice this, Brose?
Yeah.
A copy of the same book is later shown on Lowry's desk in the control room when he is first introduced as well, which is a nice little touch. According to the filmmakers, the T-Rex in the film is the same T-Rex that appeared in the original Jurassic Park. She bears visible scars from the climatic fight with the velociraptors in the first film.
Okay.
This is the first Jurassic Park film to not have animatronic dinosaurs created by Stan Winston, of course, as he passed away in 2008. Instead, the animatronics were created by effects studio Legacy Effects, a company formed from Winston's former workshop staff, and one of the shops in Jurassic World, Winston's, is named in Stan's honour, which is a nice little touch.
Did anyone notice which bits would have been animatronic? Because I
think it was like when the raptors were in their, in the cages where their heads were like locked in.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was
and
animatronic.
Obviously the egg in the opening shot. I mean, that was real. But I didn't think there was much animatronics to speak of. But,
There is a statue of the character John Hammond, the founder of the InGen Genetic Company and Jurassic Park. Colin Trevorrow explained this is to specifically honour Sir Richard Attenborough, who played the role in Jurassic Park and the Lost World Jurassic Park. The Indominus Rex means fierce, untamed king in Latin, after the hybrid dinosaur's erratically destructive and murderous nature.
So they named it Indominus Rex before they knew it was going to be so horrifically violent and untamed.
Evil.
And evil.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's bizarre.
The gyrosphere was Steven Spielberg's idea. According to Trevorrow, Spielberg wanted to create a way for people to get up close and personal with the animals to make it a self-driving, free-roaming experience. It loads on a track, but once you're out there, you actually get to navigate around the valley.
Right.
And Spielberg would have done that much, much better. He would have done something good.
I tend to agree, yeah. When Zach and Gray find the main building of the original Jurassic Park Visitor Centre...
We haven't talked about this much, but I love that sequence.
Yeah, it's great.
So overwhelmed by nostalgia and so excited, and I love those jeeps. And
nostalgia from, 2 years ago for you.
No, but the visuals. I was aware of the visuals of the film long before.
It's like decaying and it's like overrun with vines.
Yeah.
There's sorry,
Stuart. It's being an asshole. It's only fair I get what I give.
Speaking the truth,
That's
but
right.
yeah.
There's a lot, as you said, Brose, there's a lot that's hidden within this scene, including the When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth banner that fell after the T-Rex's final attack in the first film, as well as the bones of the staged dino fight. There's also the backlit painting of a raptor, just like the one behind which Raptor stalked Lex and Tim in the first one. And best of all, Gray plays with the night vision goggles that were featured in the T-Rex sequence with working batteries still.
Amazing battery technology.
Incredible technology, yeah.
That was probably B.D. Wong's character that came up with those batteries.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty smart. He's evil, but he's smart.
A quick discussion in Andrew's absence here, Brose, in regards to the score of...
Finally, a return to form for the main theme.
But they use it properly.
It's finally used to herald the excitement and the energy. I was overwhelmed. It's perfect. That's what that theme should be used for, and it was great.
So Michael Giacchino was the composer, and he... I guess it really is a John Williams tribute score,
absolutely,
but done really, really well. Like, they did not use his themes well. He didn't even use his own themes well in Lost World. And then Don Davis's use of his music in Jurassic Park 3 wasn't good either. But this one gets it right. This one does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it's great. It's a stirring moment. It's really... it's
particularly that scene at the start. Like, it was really, really nostalgic in the right way when you're being introduced to the park at the start, and they use the theme. That's really good. There is a soundtrack release of this, Brose. 24-track release of the score, released by Backlot Music. It's definitely worth a listen. Have you heard this one yet, Stu?
No, I haven't, but I did enjoy the music a lot.
Interestingly, Giacchino previously scored the video games Warpath Jurassic Park and the Lost World Jurassic Park, Brose. Themes from John Williams' previous Jurassic Park scores were also incorporated into these games as well. So it's interesting that you get a gig doing a couple of Jurassic Park video games and then get asked to come on board and do the actual fourth film, which is really cool. In regards to alternate versions or deleted scenes, there isn't much at this stage, Brose. I think it's a bit early, but there was a TV spot which features a scene with Claire covering herself in dinosaur shit. This scene was removed for the theatrical release. I don't know why she would be doing that, or...
it's the same reason that they do it in The Walking Dead, where they smear themselves with guts.
Oh, the guts
so the
and blood.
Zombies don't come after them.
Yeah.
But there's a number of things in the trailers, different versions of shots, extended shots I've noticed, even though I've only seen the one trailer. I saw it subsequent to the film.
Yeah, I mean...
there were quite a few,
Once the DVD and Blu-rays and everything come out, I think that we'll have a little bit more information on what some of those scenes might be, but it's a bit early to start talking about that. Collectibles, Brose, from Jurassic World. I know they exist.
They do exist. The Hasbro have the rights to the action figures, and they're shit house.
Are they?
Yeah, well,
that's disappointing.
The dinosaurs themselves, there's a bunch of repaints, not dissimilar to the Jurassic Park 3 figures. There is a Indominus Rex as well. There's a what's that thing called? The Massasaurus. Yeah, the Massasaurus and the Indominus Rex are added to the range. Actually, the Indominus Rex I played with, we had it at work the other day, and it's quite cool. You pull its leg or whatever, and it roars, and it looks quite ferocious.
Pull its leg and it roars.
Oh, I don't know. Its mouth opens and it makes roaring noises, and I don't know. It was kind of cool. It was a cool toy to play with, and it's got kind of the rubbery kind of skin on it as opposed to hard plastic. But yeah, I mean they're all right. It's just that once you get past the new dinosaurs in the range, it all just becomes a bit samey as the last three films. They're not doing anything different or exciting with it. There are a series of dinosaurs that come with human figures. None of the likenesses of the characters are used in the toys at this stage. There's no Chris Pratt, there's no Bryce Dallas Howard, or any of those characters are featured. They're just kind of generic security guard type park people. They're not that exciting.
Doesn't even have action high heels.
There are no action high heels. But the Indominus Rex comes with a gyrosphere, and there's a Pteranodon that comes with the helicopter, so you can pierce the guys through the head through the windscreen. Of that
surely the Owen figure is only a matter of time away, bro. So we advertise as the greatest action figure of all time.
The Massasaurus comes with a submarine for some ungodly.
That's
reason.
Interesting. That makes me think that they might have done something along those lines.
Yeah, there might have been a submarine deleted scene or something.
Yeah, not that they actually shot, but at some stage there must have occurred
might have been mentioned
to actually go underwater, because we didn't really go underwater.
No, we didn't go underwater at all.
They probably realised it was a terrible idea. It was unsafe. Why did we build this park in the first place?
What looks like a re-release of the Tyrannosaurus Rex enclosure as well, that's out again. Anyway,
I hope that didn't come out until after the film was out, otherwise that's one big spoiler.
It is a big spoiler. I mean, this is the problem with the toys these days, is the market's so big. There are Jurassic World Lego sets, and they are spectacular. I love them.
Yeah.
But the problem with these sets is they came out several months before the film and did feature a whole bunch of spoilers, including the Dinosaur Rex and a few other bits and pieces.
Wow.
The idea that the Raptors are... I think there's motorbikes and Raptors and stuff in one of the sequences. So there are a couple of spoilers in the Lego range, which I found a bit bizarre.
They're also very expensive.
They are not cheap, but it is Lego. The other thing too that came about with this is that this film's rated in Australia, is it rated MA or M or MA?
M.
And there was some criticism about the fact that there are kids' toys marketed for an M-rated film, so kids' toys for kids under the age of 12 for a film that they can't go and see, and that maybe this is not appropriate. But I don't know, the whole debate kind of gave me the shit.
When's the previous films?
The first one was PG, I think.
Okay.
Whereas, I mean, this film... I know adults have taken their kids to go and see it. This is a parental decision. It's not anything to do with anything else. Their dinosaur toys are going to sell. It's got nothing to do really with the fact that this film exists or not exists. It gives them an excuse to release the dinosaur films, gives them a sense of relevancy. And it's up to parents to parent that behaviour. If they want their kids to see a film that's rated M that's got dinosaurs in it, it's up to them to discuss it with them afterwards and to talk about it, and not just, you don't lock your kid in a room and let them watch an M-rated film and then think that's a bubble and it's done. You've got to talk through any issues they might have with it and discuss the ramifications of something like that. And then if they want the toys based on the film, then they can have the toys based on the film, because they're pseudo-educational. Well, they're educational to a degree. If your kid's a dinosaur kid, then he's going to be into these toys.
Parental advice on Real Chat with Brose.
I just get frustrated at the whole idea that you're going to blame the manufacturer or you're going to blame the studio for your kids not coping with it, when it's clearly like when we were kids, we watched R-rated films and we were fine. We knew they were fake. We didn't reenact any of the violence. We reenacted elements of films, but we didn't reenact the violence. We didn't kill each other, or didn't grow up harbouring the want for guns or whatever. It comes down to parenting. So
actually, we had an interesting experience in the viewing we went to. There was a family behind us. Grandma, mum, kids,
wow,
right down to baby. And it started off annoying because the baby started crying before the film even started, or early on. We thought, oh, here we go. Everything was okay until Dinosaur, whichever one it was, chomped number per first person. One of the kids just totally freaked out, had to be taken out.
Wow.
Didn't come back.
They didn't come back.
Which was an interesting situation, I think.
How old was the kid, do you think? Under 10?
Not the younger one.
Yeah, right.
Definitely under 10. Definitely under 10. Probably about 5, 4...
Yeah, I said about 5 years old.
Yeah, that's intense for a 4 or 5 year old.
And I thought, oh yeah, because when they came in, I thought, I don't know, because I knew there were going to be people being eaten, sort of in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and it was interesting to see the reaction that actually happened.
It's too early, Brose, for any awards or anything for this film, obviously.
The Satins haven't happened yet?
Not yet.
Right.
But the Rotten Tomatoes website certifies Jurassic World fresh with a score of 71% currently, 180 positive and 73 negative. And the IMDb score at the moment is sitting at currently 7.4 out of 10, which is pretty good. Well, let's just reevaluate just quickly, Brose, what we spoke about in the Jurassic Park 3 episode, because we've now finished, this is our first franchise, Brose, in which we've completed
true.
Every entry, right?
The complete franchise.
So I just want to quickly just ask people's opinions on the franchise cutoff point. So this is where we give our personal opinions about which films in the franchise are worth people checking out. And I said in Jurassic Park 3 that everybody needs to see Jurassic Park, but they don't need to bother with 2 and 3, right? My understanding, were you in a similar position at that stage, Brose?
Yeah, I guess so. 1 and 4 are great films to watch back to back.
Yeah.
It'd be an amazing experience, I think, if you'd not seen any films, to watch Jurassic Park and then Jurassic World, because I think there's a stronger tie between those two films. 2 and 3, as I've said before, to me they're just, I don't know, Dinosaur Island 1 and Dinosaur Island 2, and they're great fun films for that, but neither of those films get even close to what Jurassic Park achieved. Jurassic World gets closer, I would argue. But yeah, I mean, they're not terrible films. They're still action-packed, fun, films, they're just not as exciting as Jurassic Park, for me, Jurassic Park 1 and 4, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. So if you can skip those two and not worry about it. 3 has some value to it because it is a 90-minute action-packed dinosaur film. But for me, it's not even on the same page as Jurassic.
I know it's a little bit harder for you, Dad, considering you haven't seen some of the 2 and 3. But
he has jumped off at 1 and then come back.
I did jump off at 1 and came back at 4. Yeah.
Do you recommend the 2 that you have seen, 1 and 4? Do you recommend that people should check them both out?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to actually see them back to back. Because I think then you'll get a lot more out of what they're playing off, or especially 4 playing off 1.
Particularly considering this one doesn't make any reference to 2 and 3 at all.
No. Yeah. Well, again, I don't know that side of it because I haven't seen the other 2, but from, I can sort of see the tie between 1 and 4. For me, it works nicely. Yeah,
and that's where I am, Brose. I said people get off Jurassic Park after they see the first one, but now I'm telling them to come back to see this one. I reckon it's definitely worth checking out.
And now, the dissenting.
Yeah, I've got the first 3 films sitting on my shelf. I'm not actually sure if I'll be adding this one to it.
Really?
Ooh. So, admittedly, I had no choice because it was a box set. If I had a choice, Lost World mightn't be sitting there. But yeah, for me, this.
Well, okay then. So, if someone has not seen any Jurassic Park movies, what would you tell them to see? What's the franchise cutoff point for you?
It's the same as last time. I mean, the 2 good ones are 1 and 3. It's the odd numbered thing. There we go. It's
the odd numbered thing.
It's the opposite of Star Trek. So yeah, you don't need to see this film. It's fine. It's made enough money.
You don't need to see it.
Hey.
Yeah, but we want to knock Avatar off the top. Go on, everyone, see it again. Let's just keep watching until Avatar doesn't fucking exist. Can we erase Avatar with this film?
Avatar's better than this.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's really not.
Yeah. Too harsh on Jurassic World, Stu. You're too harsh on Avatar, Bros. That's the final word. Yeah.
No, justify.
Bros, let's finish it off with our traditional 5-star review system. I'm going to start with your good self today in Andrew's absence.
Why are you going to skip your dad who's sitting in Andrew's chair and go straight to me?
Yes.
Just before we do this, what did I give Jurassic Park? Do you remember?
4.
Yeah, cool. That's what I thought. Jurassic World, it was, for me, all I wanted it was to be less confusing and better than the second and third films, and it did that for me. That was nice. I had a really good time watching it. I walked out with a smile. I was happy. When I thought about it after the fact, okay, there are a few problems. There's some issues with this film, but it could have been much worse and much more confusing and much more just... It could have disappeared up its own ass very easily. It finished with a big dinosaur smackdown. Who doesn't want to finish with a big dinosaur smackdown? Okay, the characters don't develop that much. Doesn't really make any sense why Claire and Owen even hook up, except that I guess they were maybe going to anyway, and this was just something that happened along the way. It could have been a nicer set piece in the middle of the film, a little bit more action in there. Look, there's a bunch of things that are wrong with this film, but I still enjoyed the hell out of it and still had a good time, and I felt like it was a stronger connect to the first film. So easily 3.5 stars, this film. Jurassic Park is still by far the better film, but Jurassic World is really tasty. Go and see it. Check it out. It's good fun. If you like Chris Pratt, he's not being Chris Pratt in this film. He's kind of doing a slightly different turn, and that's nice to see. He's got a little bit of, something else going on in his acting as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. 3.5 stars. Check it out.
Dad, final words and final score for Jurassic World?
Enjoyed the movie. Likewise. Came out smiling as well, I think. We had lots to talk about, which is sort of always a good point, I think, in something like this where you come out and sort of say, well, that was a waste of money. In terms of all of that, looked great. I was impressed with the look. I was impressed with the acting. As you said, there were a lot of problems with it, but which film doesn't have some sort of problems or whatever? And to me, just on a straight point, 3.86.
3.86.
3.86.
What's 3.86?
Stars.
3.86 points. Wow, that's beautiful.
Good luck duplicating that on the website.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm just going to have to write it as he says it. I'm going to have to.
Take it to the nearest point.
Wow. What did I give it? 3.5. Maybe I should go 3.86. I'm liking it. 3.5 sits.
Stu.
Yeah. 2.5 stars. It's at first I was thinking it's equally as bad as The Lost World. I'm almost thinking it's slightly worse now. Because at least The Lost World had awesome action sequences. This had one, and it went for like 50 seconds. I was let down by the story. I was let down by the action. If the story had been rotten, but it had been amazing roller coaster ride, I would have been okay with it. But it just didn't. It wasn't exciting. I wasn't on the edge of my seat until that dinosaur smackdown, and then it was right at the end, and we all knew it was going to end with the mosasaur anyway. So, yeah, 2.5 stars. No, I don't recommend it.
Don't recommend it.
No.
I did find this film fun, and I think that's the difference. This is the sequel to Jurassic Park.
There was no cliffhanger sequence like Lost World, though.
Which was literally a cliffhanger.
It was literally a cliffhanger.
It was incredible. It was incredible.
That was a great sequence.
Yeah.
But you take that sequence out of Lost World, and the whole film may as well be flushed down the toilet.
I know.
The original Jurassic Park made me feel like I was a little kid looking through dinosaur books again and being...
Were you a dinosaur kid?
Overawed with the... No, not too much.
No, he was a human child.
Oh. Can you confirm or deny this, Tel?
We have to work hard on it.
Did you enlist the help of B.D. Wong? Creating this
well, someone very similar to you.
Yeah, this film, so the original made me feel like the book, looking at dinosaur books. This film made me feel like a little kid watching Jurassic Park, the movie again, right? So it sort of took me back there. It had sort of the double effect, which the second and third installments definitely did not do, as it's been well documented here on the show. It's not going to be infinitely rewatchable like the original is. It has a sense of playfulness that I was fully on board with, but it's like Stu, this film isn't smart, and you've got to get that straight right off the bat. It's very contrived, and it has little to no character growth, which is my biggest gripe with this film. It hides the stupidity behind the science fiction, but overall I really enjoyed it. It could have been an absolute disaster. This is Jurassic Park 4. It could have been a disaster, so I had very low expectations. I think that all helped. I knew going in that it wasn't going to be a thing on the original, but having watched all the films for the podcast recently, it really just gave me exactly what I wanted. I had a huge amount of fun with it. It can't match the original for sheer inventiveness and impact, but it worked in its own right as a very entertaining and visually dazzling popcorn thriller, and that's why I enjoyed it. I had really nice nods to the original and a blatant disregard for Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, and it just had me on board for that reason. It was a really fun theme park ride of a good time. So 3.5 stars from me and recommended, definitely. So that pretty much wraps it up. So thanks, Dad, for coming on the show. Hope you had a good time.
You're welcome. It was fun.
That was good to have you.
Thanks.
And next up, we're actually going to be doing a special, Brose. We're going to be doing a tribute to composer James Horner, who recently passed away. So we'll get Andrew in here, and we'll do a quick little tribute episode to him. So
it's a big loss to the film community, definitely.
So thanks very much, guys. Thanks for coming out and discussing Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and we'll speak to you soon.
That was it. That's the first and only time it happened in the whole episode.
Right,
Jurassic Park World.
Stay in touch with us by visiting realchat.com.au. Check us out on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at realchatpodcast, Instagram real_chat_podcast. And if you haven't already, catch up with past episodes and subscribe to new episodes on iTunes.